Today we dive into 3 heart-wrenching betrayals, one discovered in a remote cabin, another hidden behind a spare key, and the last uncovered through a secret online persona. I stood in the tiny cabin bathroom, steam curling from the shower, when his phone buzzed non-stop. The messages weren't from work, they were from a colleague bragging, "I can't believe you're actually with her right now." My breath stopped. I scrolled through weeks of late-night texts, secret dinner plans, and an intimacy that felt foreign after a decade together. When he finally emerged, smiling and fresh, I slid the phone across the sink. His panic-filled eyes were the first honest look I'd seen in 10 years. We had built what friends called the golden couple. 10 years of marriage, a beautiful home, shared holidays, and a trust that felt unbreakable. Our lives intertwined so completely that I never imagined a hidden world could exist beside ours. He was my rock, my confidant, the man who always knew the right thing to say. We celebrated anniversaries, raised children, and dreamed of retirement together. The idea of betrayal felt like a foreign language, something that happened to other people, not to us. Over the months before the trip, his phone was always face down, his evenings suddenly filled with work trips that never seemed to involve real clients. He grew distant, laughing less at my jokes, and started guarding his laptop with a password I'd never needed before. Small details, like the faint scent of another perfume on his jacket, or the way he avoided eye contact when I mentioned his coworker, felt like breadcrumbs I dismissed, convincing myself it was just stress. The moment I handed him the phone, his hands trembled. He tried to spin it as harmless flirting, but the depth of the messages, late-night confessions, plans for future trips without me, spoke louder than any excuse. The cabin's silence grew heavier as the truth settled in. I felt the walls close in, the air thin, and realized the person I'd trusted for a decade had built an entirely separate emotional life. The rest of the weekend passed in a suffocating quiet that no amount of scenery could erase. I left the cabin at dawn, suitcase in hand, and filed for divorce the same week. The grief was overwhelming, but clarity arrived like a cold wind. I sold the house, moved into a small apartment, and surrounded myself with friends who reminded me of my worth. Therapy helped me untangle the shame from the betrayal. Today, I'm rebuilding my life on my own terms, proud that I chose freedom over a comfortable lie. The pain remains, but it fuels my newfound strength. From a cabin showdown, we shift to a hidden key that unlocked an entire second life nobody expected. I was polishing silverware when I found a tiny brass key tangled in her jewelry box. No lock in our house fit it. I asked, she laughed it off as a childhood keepsake. Curiosity gnawed, and a week later I followed a hunch to a studio apartment across town, rented in her name. Inside, photos of her with another man, a shared calendar full of dates, and love letters spanning 2 years greeted me. The realization hit like a physical blow, she'd been living 2 separate lives. We'd been together for 5 years, planning a wedding just 3 months away. She was my best friend, the person I imagined growing old with. Our friends adored us, and we shared countless late-night talks about our future home, kids, and careers. I trusted her with my deepest fears and hopes, believing we were building something unbreakable. The thought of a wedding felt like the final chapter of a story I thought was already written, until the key shattered that narrative. She started taking quick errands late at night, always vague about the destination. Her phone would buzz, and she'd stare at it with a tight smile before slipping it into a drawer. Occasionally, I'd hear muffled laughter from a neighbor's balcony, a sound I couldn't place. She also began canceling plans with me, claiming work emergencies, and her new perfume lingered even after she showered. Each odd detail felt like a whisper, but I convinced myself it was just my imagination. When I finally opened the door to the hidden studio, the air smelled of fresh paint and cheap candles. The walls were adorned with photos of her laughing arm in arm with a man who wasn't me. The calendar was filled with date nights scheduled weeks in advance, all marked with heart emojis. Letters she'd written, never sent, detailed the love she felt for this other man. My heart pounded, and the world tilted as the truth settled like glass shards on the floor. I called off the wedding that very night, canceling the venue and catering with trembling hands. I moved in with my brother, blocked her number, and let the grief wash over me. Therapy helped me process the betrayal, and friends reminded me that I deserve honesty. Today, I'm focused on rebuilding my own life, pursuing hobbies I'd set aside, and learning to trust my instincts again. The pain remains, but it's a reminder that I can survive even the most shattering lies. Leaving behind hidden apartments, we now explore a betrayal that lived behind a fake online persona. I found a tablet forgotten in the car, still logged into a social media account under a different name. The profile portrayed a single, successful architect, complete with curated photos and witty captions. Scrolling, I discovered he'd been courting multiple women, offering emotional support he no longer gave me. It hit hard. My partner of 7 years had built an entirely new identity to hide his infidelities. The realization that I'd been living with a ghost shattered my sense of reality. We moved in together after dating for years, and he was always the stable one, the rock I could lean on. He talked about career advancement, weekend getaways, and future plans that included a house with a garden. Friends described us as the couple that balanced each other perfectly. I trusted him implicitly, believing his calm demeanor meant he'd never stray. The idea of him living a double life seemed impossible, making the eventual discovery feel like a cruel joke. He began taking monthly business trips to a nearby city, always returning exhausted and vague about the purpose. His laptop required a new password I never knew, and he started receiving calls at odd hours, ending them quickly. I noticed he'd become unusually distant during our evenings, scrolling on his phone with a focused intensity. Small things, a new cologne scent lingering after a night out, an unfamiliar ringtone, felt out of place, yet I dismissed them as harmless quirks. When the tablet buzzed with a notification, I opened the app to see his avatar, a handsome man in a sleek suit, not the one I knew. The bio bragged about design awards, and the feed showcased dinner dates with different women, each captioned with affectionate emojis. Comments from strangers praised his genuine care. I felt a cold knot in my stomach as the realization sank. He'd created an entire alternate existence to chase validation he felt he lacked at home. I confronted him the next morning. He claimed I was stifling his creativity. I packed his belongings while he was at work, changed the locks, and walked away with a mix of heartbreak and relief. Therapy helped me untangle the grief, and I now focus on rebuilding my sense of self outside of his shadow. I've reclaimed my space, reconnected with friends, and learned that my worth isn't defined by someone else's deception. The future feels uncertain, but I finally feel free. Betrayal cuts deep, but each story shows that we can rise stronger than before. Remember, you deserve honesty and love. Which story hit hardest today? Let me know in the comments.